I meant to ask you to leave those up there.
What is it?
All of them, please? All the ones that you showed the witness or referred to.
That's when you get 14 boxes of crap.
Just the ones you showed.
Don't ask you, make it what you ask for.
Words matter.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Oh, these I think are your notes.
No, those are mine.
Oh, well. I keep leaving like notes and stuff around and trying to give them back over there.
I'm using colored paper
All right,
to
so
make sure that. That's a really good idea. Actually, no, it's the colored paper yesterday, and I'm sure there's a reason for that.
Yes.
Do you want to keep it for?
No, keep that back.
Okay. You want it back here?
I like that jacket.
There you go.
That's why you broke the color barrier.
Yeah. I was admiring Diane's jacket. Very pretty.
Oh, isn't this wonderful fashion sharing? I think comfort level.
Darcy told me I should wear my sparkly shoes.
I remember I used to have a court reporter that shoes were the key. Loretta? She always had wild shoes.
These are more like tennis shoes, though. Probably 2000.
I was never one for open-toed shoes in the courtroom. And beginning of the end. I just don't think it's very professional, but I realize that fashion tolerances have changed.
That's what it's supposed to see. When I first started with clothing, I never.
You ready, Judge?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all rise. Thank you. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I just want to take a second. I had something come up with another judge. That's why we're delayed here. It's not these guys, okay? We each have about 600 cases on our docket. We're the busiest state, we're the busiest court in the state for what we do. Cleveland has the same number of cases, but they have 36 judges, we have 17. So we're generally busy, and it involved another murder trial that you'll see my ugly face later this summer on. But that's beside the point. So we had to deal with something. So I apologize for the delay. Mr. Zion, are you ready to read? Doctor, you're still under oath?
I'm here.
Mr. Zion?
Thank you. Doctor, I'd like to start my redirect where Mr. Baez started his cross-examination. Did you receive a subpoena to testify in this matter?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you communicate health problems you were having?
Yes, I did.
Do you feel comfortable in general terms talking about those health problems and how they might affect your ability to testify?
Yes.
Do you recall the parties?
Objection.
Are you willing to stipulate what you guys agreed to?
Yes, if it's complete and accurate, absolutely.
Do you recall the parties responding? What would be, out of these three options, the best?
Objection.
I'll permit the question so far.
He was not present during the
Okay.
conversation.
Let's do it this way. Doctor, did you give us three options about testifying?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that was relayed to who? The state? To the defense?
That was relayed to my attorney.
Okay. And you don't know what your attorney did after that?
He told me he contacted the concerned parties in the court. I'm not sure if that was
Okay, that's
prosecution
enough.
and defense.
Well, you're speculating now. Help me out here. Okay. So
Okay,
these
you
were
bet.
your preferred conditions on testifying.
These conditions today?
Well, of the three, this was more comfortable
Yes.
with you because of your injuries and needing to stretch out and various other reasons.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you have a sick room there that you can go lie down on the breaks?
Objection, Judge. I think the court cleared this up. I don't know.
I'll permit it.
There is a conference room next door that is accommodating me by having space and a table available for me to lay on to stretch out my back when necessary.
All right. And are you scheduled, or do you have a potential surgery coming up for that injury?
I've been through a lot of conservative treatments that have not really helped. I'm scheduled to see my orthopedic surgeon this Friday, at which point I am anticipating we will schedule surgery.
Is your appearance here today via video link in any way concerned with Mr. Baez's cross-examination of you? You asked that directly.
He did. I'll permit it.
No.
All right. Let's get to the meat of this.
Objection, Judge.
That's the narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, you disregard the narrative.
Recall 20F is what we've called it. Do you have that email from November 19th in front of you? I don't have it up on the screen. I can put it up on this if you want.
I have to look for it. I've had a lot of documents laid in front of me today. Let me find it. Email from 12/19. 11/19 or 12/19?
11/19.
November 19th.
I don't think we ever received a copy of that.
All right. It was shown to you by both parties. Mr. Baez talked about what Dina says on that. Could I use this, Judge, to show him?
Any objection?
No objection.
You'll go blank for a second. Looking at 20F, what Dina said on that. If you could transfer it over, Judge.
It's already there.
No, you got to like blank him out and go to the overhead.
That's not how I was explained to me. David, do you know? Paul was over there having secretive secrets. Black it out. We'll run it again.
I don't know how to use.
You're assuming that it's going to work. This pad up here is, excuse the expression, stunk the whole trial. David, you may have to hit cart front location and to all, because it's not reacting to me at all. On the pad, it should be presentation, video conference, cart front, to all.
And those are all highlighted.
Okay, hit black out,
Black hole.
black off, and then go back to cart front
I wonder if you can.
and to all. Seems like a Paul moment here. Okay.
We can't get it, Judge.
Let me do something with the jury here real quick. Government things, we're probably one of the best technology courtrooms in the United States, okay? This was from our preceding vendor. It was their solution to upgrading life, and it's not been the most conducive. We actually went to a different vendor, Okay, but they haven't had time to remove this. I'll leave it at that as this. Okay, so we're bearing with it. So we're going to get Paul.
We can move on, Judge. I think we've
Why
got
don't
a
you do
solution.
something else and we can come back to it if you wish.
Judge, we agreed on something, so
Okay.
we can move forward.
Okay, so we'll take off. Doc, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. So by stipulation of the parties, 20F, the part referring to Dina, the part that Mr. Baez, you agree, you showed him that? By stipulation, it says, see, back up.
Paul, help me. It's private. We're vulnerable.
We're trying to,
We went to try to put the doc up on the screen. It hit private and wouldn't adjust. I totally get out of the picture because this one's been the problem up here. David tried to implement it over there. There's the charming judge. There's the charming courtroom. And there's the charming private.
we've lost, are you still on Zoom?
Ladies and gentlemen, don't draw any inference from this.
We lost it.
We lost the doc.
Still up.
Lost the dog.
Doc, are you there?
I think I'm back. I'm back.
He's on my screen, Judge. The Zoom link's still open.
I see him on this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we see you. We just don't have you on the big screen yet. Ah, that's the solution. Scratch one screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand, I may kid with you at times. This is very serious, and it's due the respect. But sometimes it helps when things don't go right to have a little smile put on our faces. So bear with me on that. Now we've lost everything. There's the doc back. Okay, I still got private on the screen. Uh-oh, he's going into the closet. The control center's back there, guys, okay? That's it. We'll do Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Are we on the record?
Yeah, we can go off the record. Did you get all that wonderful humor for the Court of Appeals?
Fall into the,
Patience, stop. We'll be there in a second.
That's fine.
Is it on that screen there, the doc?
He's on my computer, Judge. He's not on.
I understand. It's on the screen on the docket thing now.
We could just share the Zoom like judges.
Yeah, they got all their computers up there to join with us on their phones. Yeah, that's all I need. It'll send the system into an overload. And Paul's actually the best. I know. There we are. Yay! Thank you, Paul. Okay, so we don't have to worry about a doc for now.
state your mind.
Take a minute. Join us for a minute and help us. Mr. Zion.
Thank you. By stipulation of the parties, 320F, the part shown to you by Mr. Baez. Dina, I wanted to copy you as well, since pharmacy is concerned that the nursing staff is overriding Pyxis to obtain and administer these medications. I will keep you updated on the progress and send you an optional invitation to this meeting. Thank you. Okay, that's what that says. Do you recall that being shown to you in your cross-examination?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall the question of Mr. Baez? Sounds like there's a problem in pharmacy. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
In fact, doesn't it sound like there's a problem in nursing staff?
Yes, it did.
All right. Mr. Baez asked you about diversion, also known as just stealing drugs. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask you if somebody can lower that blind behind you there. Diversion.
You're shining.
Was there any evidence of diversion in this case that you found?
No, it was discussed and considered, but there was no evidence of that.
All right.
Doctor, can they close that blind behind you?
We're doing it as you speak, Judge.
I mean, you look very angelic up there, but
I think that may be the first time anyone's ever said that.
well, it's the first time you testify with a blind in the background, or the sun, actually.
Sure. I'm gonna.
There we go.
That makes it huge.
That's all right.
That's all right. Okay, Mr. Zion.
There was questions about what action you took initially with Dr. Husel. Do you recall testifying on direct? You took him off the schedule.
Yes.
Do you recall Mr. Baez characterizing that as putting him on leave?
Yes.
Are those two things the same thing?
I don't know. I've never really seen a definition of on leave and how it would compare to being off the schedule.
Well, you were placed on leave.
Yes.
You were told to go home and not come back, right?
Yes.
Is that the same thing you did officially with Dr. Husel after your in December with your initial actions with him?
I believe it was.
All right. Do you recall the question? Equally trained doctors and equally experienced doctors can have different opinions, correct?
Yes.
Let's run through the doctors and experience they have, if you know, of the people you talked to about the dosing habits of Dr. William Husel in the nighttime ICU regarding ventilative withdrawals.
Objection.
Okay, we're going to have a sidebar on this one because I know where it's going. So, ladies and gentlemen, get to know each other some more. You guys, I know you guys have gotten possessory about your spots. You might want to switch up, get to meet somebody new. Just a thought. No one's going to give up their spot. I already know that, right? Mr. Zion.
Let's talk about the doctors that you talked to in your investigation of Dr. Husel's dosing habits during palliative extubation in the nighttime ICU. Do you recall, who was the first doctor you talked to? In
Dr. Gina
November.
Moody.
Who?
Dr. Gina Moody.
Okay. I know she was the first person you talked to about this. Did you talk to her particularly about these doses?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Objection.
I'll permit it.
All right. So after your conversation with Dr. Moody, were your concerns ameliorate it?
No.
All right, who was the next doctor you talked to?
Dr. Anthony Dominic?
And remind the jury what Dr. Anthony Dominic does for a living?
He is an anesthesiologist.
And what is his role at Mount Carmel?
In addition to practicing anesthesiology, he is the chairman of the Department of Anesthesiology.
And after speaking with Dr. Dominic, were your concerns ameliorated?
Objection, he's not a critical care /
Okay, you've made your record on it. I'll note the objection overruled.
No, they were not.
Who was the next doctor you talked to?
Dr. David Ralston?
And remind the jury what Dr. David Ralston does at Mount Carmel.
He's a critical care physician who also served as the medical director of the ICU.
And after your conversation with Dr. David Ralston, were your concerns about the dosing habits of William Husel during palliative extubations in the night at the ICU, were your concerns thereafter ameliorated?
Objection.
I note the objection overruled.
No.
You had a second, did you have a second conversation thereafter with Dr. Dominic again?
Objection, Judge.
I did.
Okay, overruled.
Yes.
About the dosing habits of William Husel during palliative extubations?
Yes.
Did your investigation stop because you were now satisfied there were no concerns?
No.
Who did you talk to next?
Dr. Santa Emma?
And remind the jury what Dr. Santa Emma does at Mount Carmel.
He's the medical director of the palliative care department.
And after your conversation with Dr. Santa Emma about the dosing habits of William Husel during palliative extubations in the nighttime ICU, were your concerns addressed and your investigation stopped?
No.
To your knowledge, was Gina Moody had only been a doctor for 5 years?
Objection, Judge.
I don't believe so.
Okay, stop.
I'm sorry.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
Rephrase the question.
Do you know how long Gina Moody had been a doctor?
I don't remember currently.
Was she a brand new doctor at Mount Carmel?
Objection.
No.
Let's put it in a time frame.
Had she practiced more than 5 years?
No. At what point in time are you asking for? Are you asking in 2018?
Yeah, I apologize. Yes, in 2018.
She was not new at that point, no.
What about Dr. Ralston?
No.
What
He was
about-
not new then either.
What about Dr. Dominic?
No, he was not new then either.
What about Dr. Santa Emma?
No.
And I believe you testified that this was, in fact, Dr. William Husel's first job.
Leading.
It is leading, sustained.
Was this Dr. William Husel's first job out of medical school, out of training?
Yes.
Mr. Baez asked how many times you talked to the prosecutor. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
You recall him asking, have I ever spoken to you?
Yes.
To your knowledge, has Mr. Baez ever asked to speak with you?
Objection.
Sustained. Let's.
All right. There was quite a bit of talk about.
Let's stop for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we were going through voir dire. Mr. Baez doesn't have to do anything. He's got no burden here. The burden's on the state of Ohio. So any reference there is improper. He doesn't have an obligation to do anything.
I wasn't trying to imply he did, Judge.
Well, it gave the appearance that, and I just wanted to avoid that potential problem. The burden is on the state of Ohio, not on the
100%.
defense.
100%. But I think there was an implication that he couldn't talk to him, and was my only point.
Well, that infers that he would have to.
Well, then I apologize, and it wasn't improper if that was the inference. I apologize. The burden is on the state 100%. May I move on?
You may.
Greg Peterson, premier criminal defense attorney in Columbus, Ohio, I think is how Mr. Baez described him. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes.
Did you hire Greg Peterson?
Personally, no.
Did the hospital hire Greg Peterson, to your knowledge?
I'm not sure who hired him.
Was he hired by the hospital at some point?
Or the health system, I believe.
Okay, that's what I meant, by the corporation, whoever. So, are you aware that Mr. Peterson also works in the area of health?
Leading.
Yeah, let's rephrase.
Are you aware of other areas of law that Mr. Peterson works in?
No, I am not.
All right. Let's talk about the villain document. Do you recall that document?
I'm sorry, the billing document?
Villain.
Okay.
Villain. Bad guy. V-I-L-L-I-A-N.
Villain.
Villain.
Yes, I do.
Is that
Yes,
in
I
front
do.
of you?
Excuse me?
Is that in front of you?
Yes, it is.
All right. Does that appear to be a Mount Carmel document on letterhead or otherwise indicated to be a document from Mount Carmel?
It does not have letterhead.
Does it have
has
any
no
indications
reference.
that it is from Mount Carmel, an internal Mount Carmel document?
No, it does not.
All right.
Objection, Judge. May we approach?
Yes, we may. Guys, I'll talk to you in a minute. David? Is he run out of things to talk to you about? David, you got to get more interesting. I won't let him juggle for you, so that's out of the routine here, guys. He's under injury here. Tell him how to make baklava.
No, just make it for it.
Chocolate chili. Oh, I thought it was the cinnamon. Cinnamon? I thought there was chocolate in it. Oh, Skyline has chocolate.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Zahn, do you want us to repeat the last question, or do you know what it was?
Let's repeat it.
Okay.
Yes, Judge, I'd like to repeat.
Evidently, you have somebody speaking for you. Okay. So Mr. Baez, you would
I
like to repeat
apologize.
it?
Call balls and strikes, Judge, so I don't.
Repeat the question then, Madam Court Reporter.
Actually, Judge, I think there was a clarification.
There is, but I was trying to get us back to where we were before, and you wanted me to repeat the question. So I'm going to give you that what you asked for.
Question, does it have any indication that it is from Mount Carmel in an internal Mount Carmel document? Answer, no, it doesn't.
Okay. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, and with the court's permission, just to summarize this and to move on in a leading way. So, Dr. Swanner, does that fact that it doesn't have Mount Carmel things on it corroborate your memory?
Object to corroborate.
Well, that was the point.
Okay. I'll permit that part of it. I haven't heard. Why don't you finish the question?
That was from an outside consulting firm that was later not used.
Yes.
So, one more on this. It was part of Mount Carmel documents, but an outside entity prepared that, to your memory.
I believe so.
Okay. On direct and on cross, you were asked about who you reported to. Do you recall the agencies that you self-reported to?
I believe so, yes.
And can you list those again so that we can get back there? Because there was one you were asked about on cross I'd like to talk to you about.
CMS,
What's CMS?
the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. It's the government entity that administers Medicare.
Who else?
State Board of Nursing,
Who else?
State Board of Pharmacy,
Who else?
I don't know if we reported to the Board of Medicine, but we did report to the National Practitioner Data Bank regarding Dr. Husel.
And this was all voluntary and self-reporting, meaning you did it on your own.
Mount Carmel did it on their own. I didn't make any of these reports personally.
That's what I meant. As an organization, you did that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the Department of Justice, you recall the questions regarding the Department of Justice?
Yes.
That was in one of those media consultant game plan things? Do you recall that?
Correct. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That was on page 10 of this document. And I believe, and I'm not even going to try this jazz again. This is what you asked about, right? That's page 10. Can I just read that to him to get back to where we're at? Question. This is on page 10 situation overview, updated 12/29/18, that document.
Okay.
Okay, you got to page 10 there?
Yes.
Q, does that stand for question?
I would assume so.
All right, and the question being, do you plan to self-report to the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Written below that?
Following up with,
Hold on, there's an objection.
Okay.
Counsel objected to it being admitted, so I don't know.
Okay, well. Okay. Let's rephrase, because I know why. Let's rephrase it.
What is MCH integrity/compliance? That's just what I'm trying to get at.
Mount Carmel Health System, Department of Integrity and Compliance.
All right.
It's a part of Mount Carmel Health System.
Does this document indicate that there needed to be follow-up with that part of Mount Carmel Health Systems?
Yes.
All right. And you're not sure if the hospital self-reported to Department of Justice?
No, I don't know.
But you are sure those other 5 agencies, they did self-report to?
Yes.
Do you recall, Mr. Baez, I'm sorry, do you recall being asked on cross-examination regarding your dismissal from Mount Carmel employment and Dr. Husel's dismissal from Mount Carmel? Do you recall
Yes.
that line of questions?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall being asked, you were treated just like Dr. Husel?
Objection, that wasn't the question.
It's not exactly the question, yes, but it's the subject matter. So let's rephrase.
Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
Do you recall saying you actually talked to Dr. Husel prior to his being placed on leave?
Yes.
All right. And then being asked, so that's the only difference between you and Dr. Husel?
Objection. I mischaracterized it.
Okay, that he knows of? Is that your question, that he knows that's the only difference?
Just directing his attention so I can ask my question, Judge. Just getting him back there.
Okay, I'll overrule it for now, but let's tie it up.
All right. The only difference between you and Dr. Husel?
Objection, Judge. Again, that mischaracterizes the question.
Overruled.
Did you give any patients 500 micrograms of fentanyl?
Objection, Judge.
He brought it up, Judge. He said that's the only
This is
difference.
the 404
Again, that's not my
issue.
question.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Business. Oh, don't roll your eyes at me. Come on. Give me a little bit of loving on this one. Hold on, wait. We're going to come out in court reporter. Okay. I think she's ready. Yep.
Referring back to the differences, the only difference between you and Dr. Husel. Were there other differences in your situation and your termination and Dr. Husel's termination?
Objection.
I believe so.
And what were those?
Never given a reason at all for any poor performance, expectations that were or any other would justify my termination, whereas
Okay, you're totally breaking up. Slow down. Doc, stop. Okay, let's let the machine refresh itself. You remember the question?
I do.
Okay, you can answer now because all we were getting was gurgle, gurgle, gurgle.
Okay, sorry about that. I was not given any specific reason of poor performance or expectations that were not met that justified my termination as an explanation at all. Whereas I know in Dr. Husel's suspension from the medical staff, there was a reason given regarding excessive, I don't remember the exact wording, but it had to do with
Then don't tell us.
prescribing.
Don't
Okay,
tell us.
I do. Okay.
Okay.
There was a reason given for his suspension, which is different than mine.
Okay. Anything else?
And did those reasons,
Objection, Judge. The court ruled on this.
Okay, I haven't heard the question yet.
and did those reasons relate to Dr. Husel's medical practices?
Same objection.
Noted. Overruled.
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, doctor, for your testimony. I hope your surgery goes well if you have it. Okay, you're excused.
Thank you.
Do you have your next witness ready?
We do.
Call it.
Your Honor, the state of Ohio calls Dr. Daniel Roth to the stand.
Live witness.
What? It's a lie.
Shut down the thing, so maybe it'll work better. Black off. To the witness.
I need to find it.
Okay. Here. We're on the record.
I got it.
Why are you messing with my red dot? Okay. What do I need to do, Paul? Come up here and show me. Left hand. Yes. It just has arrows and X. Okay. Now, Paul and I are discussing this system again, and I'm starting to grovel or at him to please bring the other one here. But I know that it's an impossibility. Okay, can we bring us back up to where we were? David, go ahead and swear him.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you.
Please be seated. Make yourself comfortable. And if you would be so kind as to state your name for the record and spell your name, please.
My name is Dan Roth, D-A-N-R-O-T-H.
Everyone here?
Okay. Mr. Zion?
Thank you. Sir, can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what it is you do for a living?
By background, I'm a primary care physician, but today I serve as an executive with the health system, Trinity Health.
All right. Well, then let's talk about your background. Where did you go to college?
I went to college at Michigan State University
And what year did you graduate?
in 1991.
Did you go to any school after Michigan State University?
I went to medical school at the University of Michigan.
And what year did you graduate medical school?
I graduated in 1995.
And so what degree did you get from medical school?
Get a medical doctorate.
Okay, so you're an MD?
I am.
All right. What, if any, training did you receive after medical school?
So after medical school, I did a residency in internal medicine, also at the University of Michigan. That lasted for 3 years.
We've heard several other doctors say they had specialties in internal medicine. Could you describe that a little bit to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what that involves, what that typical practice might be?
So in general, internal medicine is a medical specialty that focuses on the medical problems that adults face. So it doesn't have surgical problems as an example, but more of the...
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Help me out a bit, okay? These people are having a problem hearing them, and, you know, being from Michigan, you're used to a lot of hot air and stuff. A little bit for us. This is Buckeye territory, sorry. I know you're probably already aware of that. But enunciate a little bit louder, because these people over here are straining to hear. Okay?
Absolutely.
And you're in a bubble anyway, so it's tough. So as long as you stay towards that mic, okay, you're usually pretty good.
Okay.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Mr. Zion, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I can see these guys about ready to fall out of their chair.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to stand back here.
Hold on, just 1 second. Sorry.
I'm going to stand back here and try to talk real loud. I think that makes witnesses talk louder sometimes. So I believe you were explaining what a doctor of internal medicine does.
Yeah, so internal medicine is a specialty within healthcare for the medical problems of adults. So internists don't do surgery, by way of example, but deal with a broad range of health problems of adults. So it's also not pediatrics. It is also the ordinary basis upon which then people go on to do future or further training called a fellowship in things like cardiology or pulmonary or gastroenterology. All of those are subspecialties of internal medicine.
Did you practice as a doctor specializing in internal medicine after you obtained that specialization?
Yes, after I finished my residency and I did 1 extra year as a chief resident, I practiced internal medicine in private practice in Cincinnati, Ohio for about 8 years.
And are you board certified in internal medicine?
I am.
And are you licensed to practice medicine in the state of Ohio?
I am.
Are you licensed to practice medicine in any other states?
I am not.
Okay. So 8 years in Cincinnati. Was that affiliated with a hospital, or did you have a practice where people would come to your office, or both?
So I had a practice where people would come to our office. We did see our patients when they were in the hospital, so we would go if our patients ended up in the hospital, we would see them there as well. But primarily we were in our own office and people came to see us there.
All right. You said you did that for 8 years. What years were those, if you recall?
1999 until 2007.
All right. Thereafter, you left that. What did you do next?
I took a role with a local health system, actually the hospital where I practiced every day, as a vice president of medical affairs. I started that in 2007.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what type of things you did as a vice president of medical affairs at that Cincinnati hospital?
Absolutely. We worked on things like efforts we could do to improve quality and safety of care, how we can make care more efficient, how we can work together between physicians and nurses and others to make sure that we are making care more coordinated for people in the various aspects and departments of a hospital.
Can you explain, by way of example, some of the things that this would involve?
So by way of example, we did a project where we looked to identify people who were going to get sicker and need the ICU before we would recognize them so we could get them to the ICU faster. And so those are the types of things we do to try to improve quality and safety by trying new and innovative things to identify patients, to make it easier for physicians, nurses, and to improve safety, as an example.
And when you're in this role at that hospital, are you still practicing with patients, have a clinical practice at this point?
At that particular point of time, I was working as a hospitalist. So we also had a hospitalist program within that hospital, and I was responsible for that, and I worked clinically occasionally as a hospitalist.
At some point, did you leave that job?
I did.
What was the next job that you had?
The next job I had, I served as the Chief Medical Information Officer for the health system, which was called Catholic Health Partners, which that hospital was a part of.
And what did you do in that role?
In that role, I worked on how do we use technology to improve care and to make it easier for clinicians and caregivers. So things like electronic health records, and how do we use electronic health records to improve care and safety.
All right. And so this is still in Cincinnati?
It is.
At some point, did you leave that job?
I did.
What did you do next?
I served as the president of our medical group. So we had a medical group of physicians in practice in a variety of specialties within that same health system. And I served as the president of that medical group.
And what did you do in that role?
So in that role, we worked to, this was more in medical practices, so it was more outpatient predominantly, but how do we make sure in those practices, similarly, we're being accessible, right? We're growing and trying to provide care to people when they want it, how they want it.
At some point, are you still working as a hospitalist, or are you still doing any other type of clinical care at this point?
At that point in time, I did work a half day a week as a primary care physician in one of our practices. It was a half day a week at that point in time.
And what point of time is this?
This is from 2011 through 2015.
All right. At some point, did you leave that job?
I did.
Where did you go next?
I moved to a health system that is based in Michigan, which is called Trinity Health.
Can you describe Trinity Health to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about what it is, its size, etc.?
Yep. So Trinity Health System is a faith-based health system that really is on a national basis. So we have health systems across the country in different states, including like Mount Carmel here in Columbus. And so we have hospitals and care delivery systems, senior communities in about 22 states across the country delivering health care.
And what is your role with Trinity? What is the title of your position? And then explain to the folks what you do there.
So today, I serve as the Chief Clinical Officer at Trinity Health. I've served in that role since 2017. 2017.
Prior to that, what did you get hired into?
So I got hired at Trinity Health in 2015 to work in our population health department. In that department, we really work on how do we do care models that can look at patients holistically 365 days a year. So not just in a hospitalization or in an office visit, but how do we provide care for people that really meets their needs every day to improve quality, lower cost, and improve their experience. And so that was what I was originally hired in, to work on those care models at Trinity Health.
And in 2015, are you still doing any type of clinical, seeing any patients?
I have not seen patients since 2015.
All right, so at Trinity, that's when it completely ends, your clinical practice completely ends.
That is correct.
All right. After you do this job that you just described, did you do something else at Trinity?
Well, I moved into that Chief Clinical Officer role I mentioned a minute ago. Starting in 2017, I'm still in that role today.
All right. And what do you do as a Chief Clinical Officer?
So I'm a member of the executive leadership team that really is responsible for clinical care delivery within our health system. So it is making sure that our strategy encompasses the key parts of a clinical aspect, as well as making sure that the aspects of our clinical enterprise across the care continuum are meeting our goals and needs, like improving quality, safety, access to care. That's my role, is how to make sure those pieces are really working together to deliver on that.
Can you give us some examples of some initiatives that you might do or have done so folks can relate to what you're saying there as your day-to-day job?
Yep. So a couple of things that we do or have done would include, so we have this notion of, I mentioned how do we deliver these models, right, to make it easier for people. So we have what are called accountable care organizations that are national, where we're then responsible for caring for 150,000 people. And we then continually improve the care model to try to make sure people have access to care, that their care is coordinated. And so we've developed a system to coordinate people's care, to keep them well, to keep them healthy.
When you say coordinate people's care, meaning between different providers?
Yeah, one of the hard parts of healthcare is that sometimes people have a hard time moving from the hospital to home or in between specialists, and so our care coordination is designed to make that easier for people.
So the doctors can all talk and know what's going on, for instance?
Yes.
All right. And were you in this role in October of 2018?
I was in this role in October of 2018, yes.
And you mentioned you work for a corporation or a hospital group called Trinity.
Yes.
You said it was nationwide.
That's correct.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what, if any, relationship there is between Trinity Healthcare and Mount Carmel Healthcare?
So a large part of Trinity Health is made up of regional health systems. There's about 15 of them. One of them is Mount Carmel Health System here in Columbus. And so that is predominantly what we do. We have other services we offer outside of those regions as well, but predominantly, so Mount Carmel is one of those regions. It's a wholly owned part of Trinity Health.
All right. And I think we've heard the term that, and said that you're Mount Carmel's parent company.
That would be one way of describing it.
All right. And as its parent company, do you have any responsibilities for the things that go on at Mount Carmel?
Yes, I am responsible for all of the clinical issues that happen within Mount Carmel.
Right. When you say clinical issues, you mean patient care?
Patient care, yep.
All right. So if there is an issue of patient care at Mount Carmel, that would fall under your purview?
Yes, ultimately.
So, with that being your purview, at some point in either October or November of 2018, were you informed of an issue going on with a physician in the ICU in the night at Mount Carmel West Hospital in Columbus, Ohio?
I was first informed about an issue in the ICU at Mount Carmel West on November 30th.
November 30th, all right? What, if anything, were you told on November 30th, and how was this communicated to you?
So I was told that one of the members of my team, who works in Michigan, had received a call from one of their colleagues who works here at Mount Carmel that they had identified a number of...
Hearsay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I assume you're operating for what he did.
That's correct, Jim.
Okay. As to the truth underlying the statements, that's different issue, different person, okay? You're getting this information because he's telling you why he did certain things. Okay? Now, you may say, but Judge, that don't make sense to me. Okay? Judge is explaining why he did what he did. Okay? You guys will get other evidence to determine other facts. Okay? So you can't take it as a true, but as to why he did it. Does that kind of make sense? I'm trying to summarize about 2 semesters of law school here. Okay? Think of it this way. You're getting the why, okay? You're not getting the what. Does that make sense? Okay.
For purposes of of what you did, what were you informed about?
I was told that there were a handful of patients at that time that had received doses of fentanyl, around 1,000 micrograms, during a palliative ventilator withdrawal.
All right. What, if anything, was concerning about this report to you?
There were a few things that were concerning about it. One,
Calls for an opinion.
I agree. He's not qualified to make an opinion. Let's rephrase the question. I'll give you a little bit of leading on this, since it is kind of a delicate issue.
Sure. You're a licensed medical doctor?
I am.
Okay, let's stop. Ladies and gentlemen, make yourself busy. Are you hurting? You want me to telegraph it in for you? Oh, funny always control that to try to work. And this morning, you be careful. I'm not cursing or anything, Mr. Biden. That's not the issue. You've got a method here. So what information? The jury has a right to know what they're looking at. Right. Do you object to that's what's on the issue? That was earlier on something else. We haven't worked out. Milligrams, micrograms,
So, my understanding of that's it, is that he received a call.
I'm sorry for being sarcastic. It's like,
I think I'm like going down as a but my role this is that the question as posed by counsel invites an opinion. Why did you find her concerned? What information is concerned?
That's exactly what I'm asking. As an expert, I'm asking his role as
would it have a problem with what you have to do a direct question?
We'll try and see.
Okay? Okay, we got your
The rest will move that way.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be a kegel exercise tonight. Have a seat, relax, Doc.
Thank you, Judge.
What happens when you're late in the